Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before everybody joins, actually, we'll have an exploration. Sir, this calcium carbonate is a solid. When you are heating a limestone in the absence of air, it is called calcination. And your idea is to get an oxide of metal, which is easy to extract metal from it. Okay, very good. Now, my question is, CaO is also a solid and CO2 is a gas. The disorder in molecules is called entropy. A measure for randomness is a measure for entropy. Entropy is a very important thermodynamic quantity given by Q by T. You know what is Q, sir? Amount of energy absorbed by a system or released by a system divided by temperature. Notice the measure for randomness delta S as units of joules per Kelvin. But anyway, I am interested to tell the randomness, the disorder is a very important property, sir. Hello. According to second law of thermodynamics, entropy of the universe is tending towards maxima. In nature, things are happening in a direction where the disorder is increasing. That's what second law of thermodynamics says. Sir, you look at the water, you look at vapor. Normally, we are saying a paper will catch fire to give carbon dioxide. Paper burns to give carbon dioxide. Do you agree, sir? Do you know paper burns to give carbon dioxide? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You also get water vapor. Why the hell paper is burning in air? Simple. Along with CO2 and water, you are also getting heat energy. In other words, enthalpy change in the reaction is negative. Enthalpy change in the reaction is negative means heat energy is released. All exothermic processes have a feature that the total energy content of reactant is more and the energy content of product is less. High energy system is unstable, less energy system is stable. The paper which has high internal energy will happily burn down in air to give carbon dioxide and water vapor, the sum of which has lowest internal energy. Systems will tend to go from a state of unrest, high energy, to a state of low energy or rest. A person who is there on the top of a building has high energy. So when he jumps, he will happily fall on the ground and break his body parts because high energy state is unstable, low energy state is stable. So person is tending to go from unstable state to stable state, thereby releasing energy. It means that whenever energy is released, whenever delta H is negative, whenever the process is exothermic, it will happen by itself. Are we very clear, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? But unfortunately, if I look at water, if I look at steam, which has high energy,
Steam.
hello, sir. Steam has high energy. So naturally, the steam should have a tendency to become water. At room temperature, steam should become water. Can water become steam?
We need to increase the temperature.
The problem is, even if at room temperature you take water in a big container, slowly but steadily the water becomes vapor. After 3 days, there will be no water. Where the water has gone means all the water got evaporated. Why the water got evaporated? In liquid state, it has low energy. In vapor state, it has high energy. Why this low energy state transformed into high energy state all by itself? Why water is getting evaporated? Hello, sir. Have you observed water getting evaporated? You take a wet cloth, put it in dry weather, soon the wet cloth will become dry cloth. All the water will go out. Then why the liquid water is becoming a vapor? It is supposed to have high energy, it is supposed to have low energy. The reason is, in liquid water, molecules have less freedom. In vapor state, molecules have a lot of freedom, a lot of disorder. Entropy. The entropy change is positive, randomness is increasing. Therefore, the direction of natural process is also influenced by randomness or entropy. More is entropy, more easily the reaction tends to proceed. Everybody wants freedom. You are not happy with money, you are not happy with food. You want freedom. Yes or no? Hello. A measure of freedom is called entropy.
Yes, sir.
Units of entropy are joules per Kelvin. Liquid water is becoming vapor all by itself because the entropy change is very positive. So a process can be spontaneous. This is decided by not only by delta H, but also by delta S. So now delta H minus T delta S, if this value of delta G is negative, the reaction tends to proceed in the forward direction. Then the forward reaction is said to be spontaneous. If the A gives rise to B, delta G is positive, the reaction is non-spontaneous. A will not become B, but B becomes A. If delta G is equal to 0, I would say that A is having a tendency to become B, B is having equal tendency to become A, they are in equilibrium. So delta G is a thermodynamic property that is based on the enthalpy change, heat energy change in a process, and the product of temperature and entropy change. Entropy is a measure of randomness. In fact, all the reactions have a tendency to proceed if the randomness is increasing, if the freedom is increasing. What is the reason why many divorces are happening? Because ladies are feeling nowadays their freedom is curtailed because of marriage and bondage. So if you get divorce, then your freedom will increase. That's what the trend is. Are we together with this idea? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In a Ellingham diagram, this is the diagram. Iron plus oxygen gives iron oxide. Notice Ellingham diagram is a diagram which shows 1 mole of oxygen combustion with different metals. How the delta G changing with the temperature. This line is indicating that iron plus oxygen gives MeO. The delta G is not seriously changing with delta G. Can you see that really? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
If I plot a graph like this, then it means that delta G value is becoming less negative. It is more negative, minus say 1500. It is minus 1200. It is minus 1000. As you are going up, delta G is becoming higher, means reaction is becoming less possible. If the graph is like this. Sir, if the graph is like this, what does it mean? Say 2m plus 14 is 2m. As temperature is rising, reaction is becoming more negative with respect to delta G, and reaction is likely to proceed. Can you see it, sir?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, let us suppose it is 973K. Simply I put it. Sir, below 973 K or above 973 K or at 973 K. At what temperature carbon monoxide can reduce metal oxide to get metal? Using this Ellingham diagram, can you say?
973.
Below 973.
First of all, Ellingham diagram is a diagram that shows variation of delta G value with the temperature for reaction of 1 mole of oxygen with any material. Again, Ellingham diagram is a diagram that shows variation in delta G value with variation in temperature for a combustion reaction of 1 mole of oxygen. The graph 1 indicates that delta G value becomes more and more negative as you raise temperature for combustion of the particular metal with oxygen. The graph 2 line, that is the combustion reaction of carbon monoxide for 1 mole of oxygen. Delta G is becoming more and more positive. It is becoming higher in value as you raise temperature. It means carbon monoxide to become carbon dioxide is not favored at high temperature. Carbon monoxide to become carbon dioxide is favored at low temperature. Are we very clear, sir? Hello.
Yes.
Therefore, at what temperature range this particular metal oxide is better reduced by carbon monoxide?
Below 973 Kelvin.
Below 973 K, the carbon monoxide plus oxygen gives 2 CO2 is lying below the question. It means at this temperature, for example, let us take this temperature. At this temperature, randomly, say let us say 800 K, the graph of the carbon monoxide to give carbon dioxide is lying below the metal plus oxygen gives metal oxide. It means if I compare these two at this temperature, bottom reaction go forward, top reaction should come backward. Anything that lies below will go forward. Anything that lies above will go backward. Therefore, below 973 K, the carbon monoxide is a better reducing agent to convert metal oxide into metal. Are you very clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Now I am modifying the graph. Iron plus oxygen gives iron oxide. The top one is carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Now, I have 3 graphs. This is 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to know the carbon and carbon monoxide, which is a better reducing agent to convert iron oxide into iron at 1000 K. 1000 K means where the temperature is, sir? Above this point. Can you see? At this
Yes, sir.
temperature, at this temperature, which is a better reducing agent? Is
Carbon.
it carbon or
Carbon.
Carbon.
At this temperature, who is lying below iron oxide? At this temperature below iron oxide, carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide is lying below. Therefore, at this temperature, carbon is a better reducing agent. Are we very clear, sir? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am looking at this reaction. The iron metal combines with oxygen to give a fuel. Solid, gas, solid. The entropy change for this reaction is positive, negative, 0. What is your answer, sir?
Negative, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
0.
this is a gas that has certain degree of freedom. At least there is 1 mole of gas. Here you have only solid. A gas is losing its freedom, completely becoming solid. So delta S is negative. You understand? Delta S
Yes.
is, this reaction
Negative.
is not favored by entropy change. Perhaps it is favored by enthalpy change. So there are reactions which are favored by enthalpy change where delta H is negative, and which are favored by entropy change where delta S is positive. Always entropy change freedom should increase, enthalpy change delta H should be negative. If both are favorable, such reaction is spontaneous at all temperatures. At any temperature that reaction happens. See what should be negative, sir? Hello? For a reaction, delta H
Delta
must be
H.
negative. Delta S must be,
Positive.
then the reaction is spontaneous at all temperatures. What is converse, sir? Then this is non-spontaneous at all temperatures. Can you see this, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Therefore,
Yes, sir.
ozone is becoming oxygen. Here heat energy is released. Within the equation, delta H is positive means outside, delta H is negative. When ozone is gas, is becoming oxygen gas, delta H is negative. Here 2
Delta H
moles
is
of gas
positive.
is becoming 3 moles of gas. 2 moles are becoming 3 moles. Number of moles of gases are increasing means freedom is increasing. So delta S is positive. So ozone decomposition is spontaneous at all temperatures. Why it is spontaneous at all temperature means it is favored by both delta H and delta S. Can we see? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
What about the oxygen becoming ozone, sir? Delta
Non-spontaneous
H
at all
is positive.
Non-spontaneous at
It
all
is not
temperatures.
favorable by delta H. Here 3 moles are becoming 2 moles of gas. So delta S is also negative.
Negative.
So ozone formation is not favored by delta H, not favored by delta S. Therefore, this is not spontaneous at any temperature. Are we clear?
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
sir. When water is becoming steam, whenever water has to become steam, you have to supply heat energy, sir. Only water on taking heat energy will become steam. It means for this reaction, delta H is positive. Within the equation, you will write delta H negative, but outside it is positive. Delta H is positive means it is an endothermic process. To bring about it, you have to put in effort. So water, liquid becoming water vapor is not a favorable process with respect to delta H. But the water vapor is a gas and liquid is a liquid. It has more freedom. So water, liquid becoming water vapor is favored by delta S. Can you see it, sir? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When water liquid is becoming water vapor, it is not favored by delta H, but it is favored by delta S.
Yes.
Can you see, sir? Can you see this
Yes.
idea, sir?
Yes.
So such a process which is not favored by delta H, but favored by delta S is spontaneous at a high temperature. You know that at 150 degrees centigrade, water automatically becomes steam. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Notice if the process is favored by delta S, if it is not favored by delta H, process will become spontaneous at a high temperature. Can you see? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let us look at here water, liquid. Here it is ice. Liquid molecules have more freedom. In ice, particles have no freedom. So when liquid water is becoming ice, delta S is positive or negative? Hello?
Negative.
Negative.
So it is not favored by delta S. But when liquid is becoming ice, enthalpy, heat is released. Because ice become liquid only on heating.
Yes, sir.
When liquid is becoming ice, heat energy is least. So liquid become water is favored by enthalpy, but not favored by
Delta.
Entropy.
Entropy.
If a process is not favored by entropy but favored by enthalpy, this is spontaneous at a low temperature. It means water itself becomes ice if the temperature is below 0 degrees, say minus 10, minus 20. At minus 30 degrees, water automatically will become
Ice.
Ice.
So you understood the criteria? You
Yes, sir.
favored by both delta H and delta S spontaneous at all temperature. If not favored by delta H and not favored by delta S, non-spontaneous at all temperature. If it is favored by delta S, not favored by delta H, then it is spontaneous only at
High temperature.
Temperature.
yes, sir. If it is favored by delta H, not favored by delta S, then
Low
it is
temperature.
favorable at a low temperature.
Low temperature.
So you should remember these examples. Now we are coming to Ellingham diagram. What is Ellingham diagram? It is a diagram of variation delta G versus temperature for a reaction involving 1 mole of oxygen with different elements. If it is a straight line like this, it is not really affected by temperature. If you have a process like carbon monoxide plus oxygen gives CO2, up to this temperature, CO2 becomes CO2 has a lower delta G value and it can happen. Metal oxide can be converted to metal when it is heated with CO up to this temperature. Beyond this temperature, it is not a reducible. If you have an equation like this, CO, C plus O gives CO2. Beyond this temperature, carbon plus oxygen gives CO is favored. Can you see it, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It means above this temperature, carbon is a better reducing agent. Below this temperature, carbon monoxide is a better reducing agent. Are you very clear?
Yes.
So Ellingham diagrams can give you a overall idea that which is a better reducing agent. In fact, I have sent you one booklet yesterday. Have you seen metallurgy? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I want you to do as many questions possible from that book. Today,
Okay.
quickly, I want to close this chapter and rest of the time we can try to do that book. But before you go there, I just interested to give you some few quick questions. Sir, 10 questions. In many cases, to extract zinc from zinc oxide, to extract iron from iron oxide, to extract tin from tin oxide, in many cases, we use carbon as a reducing agent because that is cheap. A reducing agent is one which can take away oxygen from the compound that gives you zinc plus CO. Are you clear about it, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Even lead oxide can become lead when heated with carbon. Charcoal. However, if the temperature is low, iron oxide is reduced by carbon monoxide. Sometimes aluminum powder can be used as a reducing agent. You will be getting aluminum oxide plus 2 chromium. It is called aluminothermy process. What is the aluminothermy process? In aluminothermy process, the 1:3 mixture of aluminum and metal oxide are taken and strongly heated. Urgently metal oxide will become metal and aluminum becomes aluminum oxide. Aluminum is a reducing agent. Which values can be reduced by aluminothermy process means Cr2O3. Manganese dioxide. All these fellows, when heated with aluminum, can give their respective metals, and aluminum itself will become A2O3. So all these fellows can be reduced with aluminum. This is called aluminothermy process or thermite process. Let us see, carbon is a better reducing agent in many cases because of its cheapness, because of its availability. You can also use aluminum as a reducing agent in case of some metals. The aim of using a reducing agent is to convert the metal oxide into metal. In addition to this carbon, in addition to carbon monoxide, in addition to your aluminum, you can use the electric current itself to convert the metal oxide into metal. For example, Al2O3, when added with CiF2 and cryolite, happily undergo reduction with electric current to give you aluminum metal. Most of the reactive metals like lithium, sodium, potassium, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, S-block metals. Most of the S-block metals are obtained by electrolytic reduction of their salts. They have no chemical methods. Are you clear about this idea, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Generally, the name is ending with "ite." If the name is ending with "ite," it is supposed to be oxide ore. It is supposed to be a ore that is not sulfide. The question they asked earlier is, which of the following is likely to be a sulfide ore? First one is magnesite, second one is siderite, third one is calamine, fourth one is galena. What is that? Magnetite is Fe3O4. Calamine is
ZnCO3.
zinc carbonate. And galena is PBS.
PBS.
And siderite is SnO2. So which ore is, what is the question, sir? Which is a sulfide ore? Answer is galena. Other words, they can ask, which of the following can be concentrated by froth flotation? Any sulfide ore is concentrated by froth flotation. What is the role of depressant? NaCN is a depressant. If there are two sulfide ores, selectively you can dissolve one sulfide ore as sodium tetracyanozincate, so that only other lead sulfide will stick to leather. That is easy to separate. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So generally there is a list of words. I have supplied you a book, a notes. In that there is a list of words. I want you to look at that without fail. Hello. Sir, if time is not there, you have to join again. You understand? Hello.
Yes.
Sir, 10 minutes.
I know. There is nothing for me to add about the uses of aluminum, copper, zinc, and iron. Everybody knows that aluminum are used, sheets are used as wrappers for chocolates. It is used to make paints and lacquers as a fine dust. And aluminum is used in the extraction of metals from chromium oxide, Cr2O3, manganese oxide, MnO2 called pyrolusite, and Fe2O3. Especially Fe2O3 is reduced by aluminum to get liquid iron. That liquid iron is used to fill cracks in railway tracks. So aluminum is used as a reducing agent in aluminothermy process. Aluminum is used to make lightweight alloys used to make aircraft parts. Most of the electrical cables are made with aluminum. Similarly, copper is having many uses, especially copper is added to gold to make ornament. If there is no copper addition to gold, it is 24 karat gold, it is unfit to make ornament. More is the amount of copper in the gold, the lesser will be the carats. Gold, copper is also used to make alloys with zinc. Copper zinc alloy is called brass. 60% copper, 40% zinc. 60 to 80% copper, 20 to 40% tin will make bronze. Bronze is used to make idols. Coinage alloy is made with nickel. So copper is by and large used to make alloys. Copper is used to make utensils. Copper wires are useful to make electrical cabling. Zinc is used to galvanize iron, that is to protect iron from rusting. Iron is coated with zinc. Zinc dabbas are used to make batteries. Zinc is an excellent reducing agent. In 3D series, only copper has positive electrode potential. That means only copper has less tendency to lose electrons. All others like zinc have good tendency to lose electrons. They can be used as reducing agents. Originally, when you are converting iron oxide into iron in a blast furnace, the iron oxide which you are getting in the blast furnace is not pure, it is called cast iron. It has carbon as an impurity, 2.5%. If the percentage of carbon impurity is more than 2.5%, it is called pig iron. Pig iron or cast iron that has many impurities of carbon. The iron form which has least amount of impurity is called wrought iron. In fact, a pure form of iron is used to mix steel. To prevent iron from rusting, you coat it with the zinc that is called galvanizing the iron. There is a list of alloys. I want you to learn these mixtures. Brass is containing about 60% copper, 40% zinc. German silver is containing copper, tin, zinc, lead. Try to remember the composition of alloys. Okay, sir? What are the uses of cast iron? How the alloy steels are made? Mainly, specific purpose. Nickel steel is used to make cables and automobiles, aeroplane parts. Chrome steel is mainly used to make scissors and other cutting tools and crushing machines. Chrome steel is also used to make surgical apparatus. So these are the uses I want you to study. Forget about them. This is a diagram talking about chromatography. Chromatography technique is generally used in organic laboratory to remove impurities from a given compound. So we need not have to worry about chromatography in metallurgy, though they give. How to get ultra pure metal from impure metal is called a refining. What is it called, sir? Hello.
Refining.
How to refine a particular impure metal means depends on what is its nature. If the impure metal is a zinc that has low melting point, low boiling point, that can be purified by distillation. Zinc, mercury, etc. are purified by distillation. Bismuth, which has low melting point, lead, which has low melting point, can be purified by liquation. In an inclined surface container, you put the lead, slowly heat. Because the melting point of lead is low, it melts and the liquid flows down. The impurities are left behind. You understand? In liquation, in an inclined container, you start heating the impure metal in one side. When the impure metal melts, pure metal flows down, impurities are left behind. Sir, electrolytic refining is a universal method to refine any damn impure metal. Name a impure metal. Name a metal, sir. Hello?
Copper.
So you take impure copper as anode. You take pure copper as cathode. That is the rule. Always impure is anode, pure is cathode. Put these two fellows in copper sulfate aqueous solution, just pass current. At anode, the impure metal rod dissolves and pure copper gets deposited over cathode. Always in electrolytic refinement, you take impure metal as anode, which dissolves. Pure metal is cathode. Take salt solution as electrolyte. So you understood what is electrolytic refining? This is a discussion about that. Normally impure copper is called blister copper. Blister copper has a lot of impurities and its surface appears to be very, very irregular. The blister copper can be purified and at anode waste materials are get collected. The waste materials collected at anode is called anode mud. Sometimes the anode mud in the copper industry may contain gold and silver. Are we clear, son? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Very,
sir.
very, very important point now I am saying. Certain metals are purified like germanium, silicon, boron, gallium, indium. These metals are purified, refined by what is called zone refining. You take a metal rod and start moving a particular device that heats. When you move the heating device to one corner, all impurities present in the metal will dissolve and go to one corner. You should repeat moving the heating device 100,000, 10,000 times. If you keep on repeating it, impurities kept on pumped into one side and you will cut that side, you get ultra pure metal. This method of purifying or refining an impure metal is called what, sir?
Zone
Zone
refining.
refining.
Zone refining is used only for this.
Germanium, silicon, boron, gallium, and indium.
Perfect. Okay, sir. What is vapor phase refining? You take an impure metal and convert into its compound, like say titanium impure is converted to titanium iodide. Once you convert this into a compound like titanium iodide, strongly heat, then that will decompose to give you pure metal. For example, you can take nickel, it can be converted to gaseous nickel tetracarbonyl. Take that nickel tetracarbonyl others to join
Yes, sir.
because we were broken in between.
Yes, sir.
Sir, it is one of the cheapest and easiest and stupidest lessons we have. And this lesson is so easy, like if you read the NCERT 2 times and do the book I have sent, You just get the marks without any effort. It's actually nothing for anybody to explain. It's so simple. But let us see what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at this idea. Nickel is there, which is impure. Just heat with carbon monoxide, immediately it will give nickel tetracarbonyl, a gaseous compound. When the solid nickel, which is having impurities, reacts with carbon monoxide gas, you get nickel tetracarbonyl. If the other impurities like see platinum, palladium, other metals which are there, or sand, whatever the impurities it has, they don't react with carbon monoxide. Only nickel reacts. So the impurities are left behind, only nickel become nickel tetracarbonyl. When nickel tetracarbonyl is strongly heated, it decomposes to give nickel and carbon monoxide. This nickel is 100% pure. This method of getting nickel, first converting nickel into nickel tetracarbonyl, then decomposing it to give pure nickel. This method is called Mond's process. What is it called, sir?
Mond process.
Specifically, it is called Mond's process. Generally, it is called Van Orkel method. Van Orkel method means you convert the metal you want to purify into a gaseous compound. That compound you heat till it decomposes to get 100% pure metal. For example, titanium will be converted into titanium iodide. The impure titanium will be converted into titanium iodide gas. This on decomposition gives ultra pure titanium. You understand, sir? The method of getting very pure metals, first converting the metal into a probable compound, and then the compound will be heated till it decomposes, is called Van Orkel method. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Zirconium can be converted into zirconium iodide. That decomposes to give zirconium. Titanium can be converted to titanium iodide. That on decomposition gives pure titanium. So the zirconium, titanium, nickel, all these are purified in vapor phase by converting the metal into a suitable compound and then decomposing. For nickel, the process name is Mond's process. For zirconium and titanium, it is called Van Orkel method. What is it, sir? Van Orkel. How the germanium, silicon, boron, gallium, indium are purified? Germanium, silicon, they are mainly used to make semiconductors. Germanium, silicon, boron, gallium, indium. All these elements, germanium, silicon, gallium, boron, these fellows are purified by what is called as this is impure metal rod, sir. Here you have a heating device. Just you keep on heating and moving it above. When you are moving it up, you take it out, again you move it up. When you keep on moving, the part where it is, the metal melts. When you are moving it up, the melt moves up. The impurities dissolve in the melt. So if you just move the heating device in one direction, after some time, all impurities get concentrated here. If you cut here, you get ultra pure metal. This process of heating in one side with the device so that you can push all impurities to one corner so that finally you get ultra pure metal is called as zone refining. What is it called, sir?
Zone refining.
Zone refining is used for silicon, germanium, boron, all these elements. So you should know which are purified by zone refining. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So zone refining you should learn. Vapor phase refining you should understand. Chromatography method is, you take solid Al2O3 or chromium oxide, and whatever you want to separate the mixture of components, you put on the top and you pour a liquid. Along with the liquid, due to differential adsorption, whatever that is absorbed less will come out first. Whatever that absorbed most will come out last. Generally, these colored components, compounds and organic compounds are purified by chromatography. We need not have to worry about chromatography in metallurgy chapter. But I don't know why they gave, I don't know. So zone refining, all this you have learned. Have you learned, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you know it is 1248 reaction? Whenever you have to extract gold or silver, you take the ore containing gold or silver and take it in a tank and put water and blow oxygen and add cyanide and shake. Then when you are blowing oxygen, the gold or silver is oxidized. You get a gold cyano complex, silver cyano complex. The complex is water soluble. All the impurities are left out. Only gold dissolves as cyanide complex. Take out the clear solution and sprinkle zinc. When you sprinkle zinc, zinc will enter into solution and become a complex. Gold will be precipitated in the bottom, either gold or silver. So notice, gold and silver extraction is very easy. It is 1248 reaction. 1 O2, 2 water, 4 metal, 8 cyanide. You will be getting 4 metal cyanide. When once you got soluble metal cyanide, you add zinc. Valuable metal comes out, zinc will become tetracyanozincate, remain dissolved. We have seen that. Have you seen? We will be quickly surveying how to extract aluminum. We have discussed, if you remember. We will revise it tomorrow once. And tomorrow we will be looking at the electrochemical principles once briefly. Also tomorrow we will be seeing what are the reactions in blast furnace very quickly. Ellingham diagram interpretation and application of Ellingham diagram. Significance of Ellingham diagram. Different reducing agents, etc. By and large, it is easier chapter. You should study it 2-3 times and do the exercise I have given. You should remember the names of ores. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow is the last day to complete the easy chapter. I don't want to invest more time. For organic, for physical, if you spend more time, there is meaning. For this type of chapters, you should study again and again. I wish you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, feel free to point out. If you don't understand, you should say, I don't understand. In love affair, there is no conditioning. Let learning be a love affair. Slowly we do if it is typical. Rapidly we do if it is easy. Metallurgy is easy. I want you to study yourself thoroughly. Don't take any risk. Read the textbook 3-4 times.